All right, I think we can get started. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. It's really interesting to see that, we have a pretty good interest on this topic, and a lot of people signed up for this. We welcome all, and I'll make sure that, as a team, we get in there and we make use of this time for everybody. So without any further delay, I'm going to just jump into the topic. Of course, the topic is pretty much everybody is aware of the word AI. It's pretty popular. Everybody's talking about AI. And today we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive in terms of understanding where the AI in the world of supply chain is coming in and how much we can see that beyond the hype. That's going to be the topic. Most of you know, and people who doesn't know me, this is Mansoor Khan, founder and CEO of CSCS, stands for Cloud Supply Chain Solutions. I've been on the technology side of the supply chain for over 23 years now. Had the luxury, privilege, experience of working with companies like Walmart in the past, Home Depot, CNS, and many large-scale organizations. The key thing has been predominantly on the transportation management and warehouse management space, with some amount of OMS in between. Worked with these companies dealing with their business large scale around TMS, WMS, and being a pretty good, I would say, technology forefront, especially with cloud being there. A lot of work was done on the cloud in the past, pertaining to supply chain optimizations, and then later with IoT devices and IoT tracking work was done. And now with the AI, able to put all of this experience and customers and all that learnings and technology into the world of AI and able to provide thought leadership. And I thought maybe it's a good time, good forum for the larger audience to know and share what we have learned over the period of time. And this discussion is just the first step on that. I've been pretty passionate about when it comes to supply chain. I like mathematics a lot, and then supply chain falls right on that side of the story for me. The way how the whole end-to-end visibility, or the way how a lot of complex integrations, seamless integrations, and then next generation supply chain innovations is coming in. That's been my passion. I've been learning it. I'm a student of the learning there. I've been learning pretty much from the time I got exposed to supply chain, and it's been a great journey. And welcome you all, and happy to share this particular topic, which is pretty hot in the market right now. And I would like to spend some time with you all. All right, this is what the focus of today's is going to be. Like our learning journey is going to be first and foremost. We'll talk about the buzzword. What is this whole hype versus reality when it comes to AI? A lot of buzzwords around, so we're going to talk a little bit about it, and we're also going to do a quick snapshot of how market is looking for this AI when it comes to supply chain. We'll take a small dive at the evolution of AI, like where are we and where are we heading on. And the next one would be like more about what makes the supply chain AI power. Like how does AI and supply chain come together? What's the value? We'll talk about that. And then we'll also cover a few practical use cases. Of course, in the interest of time, we just going to cover a few. We are more than happy to discuss more in detail, but we're going to cover a few practical use cases when it comes to supply chain and AI today. And then at the end, we'll also have the current implementation playbook, which can be used for your business, for your learning, for your implementation, as part of a small takeaway from this meeting, from this webinar. Without any further delay, I will take you to the next step. All right, so let's talk about the buzzword, right? So everybody, I'm sure there's not even a single presentations on any sales deck, any event, even from a kids at the school level all the way at the executive level, people are talking about supply chain. People are talking about AI, right? And when it comes to the actual perception versus reality, we wanted to take a small dive there. So just think about a perception which is there in the market, thinking that today's supply chain systems, due to the complexity of all that fragmented, trapped data and various systems, there is a perception that no matter what we do, the single visibility or an enhanced visibility of supply chain data is not possible. the people who spend their 20, 30 years in supply chain systems and operations, they strongly believe that it's not possible. Whereas now, with AI, with some amount of unified intelligence layer, we are seeing that that is not happening. Like we are able to go above and beyond and see an extended visibility of the data, which is in TMS, ERP, WMS, your bunch of IoT devices and all that. Plus, we're able to see them on real time. Okay, so that definitely that visibility portion is a reality than the original perception. Number two, people think AI can completely automate everything and can remove human workers, which is definitely not the case because AI is going to augment, as we all know, it's going to augment the human decisions. It's going to enhance the functioning of the humans, but it's not going to replace supply chain professionals. It's just not possible. No matter how smart the AI is, no matter how smart the models are, that's not going to happen. So that's the reality of it. Also, if you think about it, people think, hey, AI can be simple and click of a button, I can enable it. I can adopt it. Unfortunately, that's not true either. So blind adoptions has taken many organizations, many initiatives towards failure without seeing the ROI on the investment. They went too much on the vendors' reliance. They were not clear on business cases. The data wasn't there. The data wasn't mature enough. So the core foundation wasn't there. So that adoption is not possible. So we have to make sure that, like, we're taking the AI in a way where it is adaptable with the data we have in the system, but with a clear business cases. And there's also an additional perception where anything and everything can be predicted. Like, it is like everybody is doing now AI to do the predictions, right? But if it comes to the real-time technology, that's not there. In order for many of the AI models to make the real accurate business predictions, we still needed more work to done. The models need to get mature enough. The data need to be fed to those models. A long way to go. So in the industry, even though there are some steps taken for those predictive analytics, the technology is still many years to go there, and actual implementation is going to take much more time. And that's not there at the larger scale. Last but not the least, supply chain has never been possible to get executed from an operation wise without a constant human intervention, meaning the supply chain operator has to be intelligent. They need to be they should be knowing about the whole operations of many years of experience. Without their intervention, nothing can be done, is the perception. But agentic AI is actually making a much more positive impact, where agentic AIs are taking some of the responsibilities of the human operations, but it's still, as I mentioned earlier, it's still not going to completely replace. It's going to provide options for humans to do some overrides and, some critical thinking, where the agents will still do a job, but at the end of the day, humans need to make the final decisions, critical decisions, overriding decisions. So I'm sure many of you may have some questions around it. So just hold on to your thoughts and hold on to your questions. We're planning to have at least 15 minutes at the end of this webinar for open questions, Q&A sections, as well as we are more than happy to discuss this of the webinar, offline after the webinar. But this is the crux of hype versus reality. Okay. Now moving on to the next one, a quick snapshot of the market. Okay. So where are we heading on? Like if you take the total addressable market, technologies which are investing on AI for supply chain, somewhere around 5 billion range now. And then for the next 5 years, we are heading towards close to about 20-25 billion spend is the market. On that spend, if you think about who are all the industries it's impacted, or who are all the industries it's adding more value for, it's pretty much across. Of course, leading at the front, retail and e-commerce, a good amount of manufacturing, which is looking for some automation. A lot of transportation logistic companies are investing on AI. So there's definitely a huge potential for the technology and AI to get into the supply chain side for these industries. What are they actually trying to do with AI? Like if you look at them, most of them across the industry, they are looking for real-time end-to-end visibility using AI. That's been the top, that's given across the entire industry sets. There are also a good amount of IoT data and asset tracking data, which is sitting in individual clouds. People are not able to take the real advantage of it. So AI can come in and start adding value there. So there are some investments happening around the IoT side of the asset tracking. Warehouse operations, of course, can be optimized at different level, be it's inventory optimization, be it's forecasting, be it's labor level. A bunch of things can be done within the four walls of warehouse operations using AI. So there is a good amount of investment, and we see tractions happening on that, and on and on. And then last but not the least, on the demand forecasting side, which is just catching up, AI models are playing a bigger part in making more specific, timely predictions. So demand forecasting is playing a bigger role. So this is where the market is heading towards for the next 5 years in terms of the spend on the technology and AI and across the industry. We will share this, Dick. And I'm sure there are many experts on the call, but just a quick level set. From an AI technology perspective, it's not something new. It was there. Adoption is happening now much more efficiently, much more rapidly. And when it comes to supply chain industry as such, they have been the forerunners of the technology adoptions. Like if we take 1990s and 2000, there are a lot of companies were adopting ERPs, trying to implement their warehouse operations using WMSs of those days, trying to optimize the networks of the delivery using TMS systems. So there was systems were getting in place to fast track some of that automations and early adoptions. And then moving on, the next phase, if you say 2000 and 2010, you can see people were started seeing the value of the data. So there are a lot of data-driven insights were coming in. BI tools were getting popular. A lot of analytics reports started becoming a need of the hour. People will run their operations, extract reports, bunch of reports from different systems, make sense of it, go back and change their operations, make decisions and all that. So that was pretty popular between that 2010, 2000 and 2010 timeframe. Furthermore, machine learning started coming in where demands were getting, there was sensing of demand was happening. Predictions, like how can I be much more predictive and much more proactive? That was there. So systems were built, or systems were focused on adding some values there at that level of prediction and maintenance and machine learning aspect. And then the last 5 years, I would say, it's been pretty deep with the AI, especially on the deep learning NLP side. There were some digital twins concepts which are getting popular. The people are exploring their what if scenarios using digital twins. Cognitive supply chains are it's the thing now where people are trying options. But what's the future looks like for the next 4 or 5 years, I would say minimum is that the autonomous nature of it, like how much of this can be automated using agentic AI, like with minimal interventions, with intelligence overrides. And then from a foundational technology perspective, all these models are heavy lifters. They are like pretty infrastructure heavy models, and more you feed the data, they need more horsepower. So where is quantum computing is going to come in play, and how that's going to change the dynamics of the whole AI is going to work. And that's coming up. It's not very far. We're talking in less 3, 5, 7 years from now, we all will start seeing models running in the quantum computing techniques. That's going to change the entire dynamic of the way how we all been using AI. So great evolution is interesting to watch. I'm very happy to be part of this industry and part of the journey, seeing this growth and adopting it and being on the front of the technology. So AI, I don't need to bring the slide. It's very simple. People have their own opinions of what AI is, but in a very layman's terms, we as a programmer and as a tech architects, we have been doing this for many years. The only difference, or the core difference, is that now with the AI concepts, we are able to write our what if scenarios to the program based on the reaction of the model, which is nothing but fed, or which is fed by the data, underlying data. So the models are continuously being fed with data, and these scenarios are written using the AI algorithms and techniques to react differently based on the models. So that's simplest way of putting AI, and then we can add any colors and we can talk hours on that one. But the nutshell, that's the simplest way of understanding a traditional program versus the modern AI. Here you go. So now we talk about supply chain and AI power. All right. So what makes the supply chain AI power? Supply chain, as I mentioned earlier, has been adopting the technology, but now with AI, what it can do, right? the very first answer or the very key element, the answer lies in the way how supply chain systems, which are known to be fragmented, which are known to be like in 10 other versions, 10 other vendors, 20 other flavors, each one have their own data, each one have their own entities, each one have their own importance. How someone can make sense out of all that and then make a decision which is in the favor of the business, right? Be it's reducing the cost, be it's bringing more revenue, or be it's better customer experience. Any supply chain platform claiming that to be AI powered, it need to have the foundational integration techniques. It need to have flawless, timely, I can go on integrating technique so that the predictions looks more accurate and more timely, eventually resulting in an optimized operations, could be recommended by the system or could be executed by the humans who are involved in it. But it optimizes based on the real predictions, timely predictions, and those predictions are nothing but resulting from integration which covers all the aspects of supply chain. If that is not there, whether it's predictions, whether it's optimized operations, whether it's optimized recommendations, is not going to do the value what it's supposed to bring in. Right. On top of that, we also need the governing authority. We cannot just have optimizations running on their own without a governance around it. And putting all of them together, this is not just one time, it has to be a loop. It has to continuously evolve because season may change, data may change, my vendors, shipping patterns may change, the data which is coming in may change, new systems may come in, some systems may not be sending the data. So there will be like 10 other variants. So the continuous evolutions of that is needed for the supply chain platform, whatever that be, to be calling that as an AI powered platform, right? So we listed down some of those. We'll be sharing a white paper as part of our webinar participants. So the idea behind that is like, a pretty sophisticated unified integration layer so that it connects all the systems, all the systems involved in the ecosystem, CMS, WMS, ERP, traditional systems to manual data and all that. It needed an integration layer. It also needs the operational efficiencies, meaning it should not be able to just make the predictions without providing facility to users to do reactive steps. Because doesn't matter how smart the programmer is, doesn't matter how good the technology is, at the end of the day, there will be certain operational challenges which will be felt on the field, which requires the people on the floor to make reactive steps using the system. If the systems have not designed to accommodate that reactive nature on the operations, that platform is not going to help them. But it cannot be completely reactive driven. It also need to add a lot of intelligence by providing predictive natures. And that's what the reactive to predictive operational capability comes into play. Okay. And last but not the least, I always say this is an example. It has to be a timely information. Any visibility, any data which is given cannot be one time. It need to be always on. It need to be continuously fed. And also it need to be on a real-time basis. Like I use this example, there's no point having a sophisticated postmortem report. What the doctor needed is the timely health report so that he or she can save the patient, right? We don't need to know what has happened with a sophisticated long, 10-page document or a beautifully designed report. It needed timely information so that someone who is responsible is able to react and make the decision to to minimize the damage or to make the corrective actions. So that's all essentials for any supply chain platform which is going to be running under the AI tag. All right. Lately, the heavy lifting of supply chain using the AI platform is happening. The digital control towers are pretty interesting where when it comes to scaling larger volume, whether it is optimizing at a larger level or scaling as it grows. So AI is also able to scale now, but there are methods and there are things which to do and not to do when it comes to scaling. But there are options as simple as sometimes reducing the wastage on the warehouses, spoilage rates, inventory reorder counts, your replenishment from a, like an active to passive locations counts, your reordering level of your inventory from the vendors, even the route optimization level, or even labor allocation level at the warehouse. There are a bunch of places where many of these predictions can be done using the AI models. AI can be there, but again, it all starts with the data. So what data and the integration behind the scene, but with that, AI is able to do. But the beauty is they have enough technological capability to handle the larger scale, right? They are able to do that. There's also from a support and from a customer experience, as well as from corrective measures perspective, there are AI agents now which are able to detect, learn, as well as decide the what if scenarios, as well as able to execute them on a loop continuously. They're able to do that, able to bring in, notify the humans for interactions as well as for interventions. There are a lot of self-healing, assuming everything is known. There are automation which is possible to make certain steps to be automated, as well as self-healing nature. Robotics has been pretty popular. I mean, we all know warehouse has been automated with a lot of WES systems and robotic systems. But if you think about it, what was happening or what is still happening predominantly is that all those allocations, picking and packing task and everything is planned, tested for a given volume, for a given day, for a given season. They are not dynamic. Like when there is a fluctuation happening on my order fulfillment demand, when there is a fluctuation happening on the number of laborers who reported that day, or when there are delays reported on my warehouse, when the inventories are going to get delayed, they're not going to be received as per the plan, or we're going to receive more inventory. When all those changes happens, these automated hardware or WES systems are not ready to accommodate those dynamic natures. They are still relying on the pre-configured, tested configurations, executions. That's the place where some of the predictive AI models can come in play, can manage the same automation dynamically using the predictions, both from scaling up and scaling down. Okay. At the end, it's all about bringing efficiency and bringing resilience, right? We all know supply chain doesn't go as per plan, never. It always takes its own plan, no matter how well you plan. But the intelligence is like how we can enable AI and our systems to handle that outside the plan, and to handle that ad hoc behavior, and still make an optimized decision and make it sustainable, makes the difference. And AI is definitely adding value there. Okay, this is just a self-healing, detect, learn, and decide. I just spoke about it. Beyond efficiency aspect, I said, it's not just that efficiency. There is also a profitability aspect. There's also sustainability aspect. There's also a value add service, like a customer-centric orchestration is happening now, where more values where customers are able to see, which was never been planned, which was never possible, but now it is possible. And also the governance and trust aspect is getting pretty, especially with AI, it's getting pretty, especially with AI models coming in place. How can we make sure that the governance and trust is implemented not only on my fixed known basis? How can I keep it dynamic? Like for example, if there is a changing tariff, we all know how frequent the tariffs are getting changed across now in the new model. How these systems can still implement those changes without violating the trust and the governance aspect of execution, right? The systems need to be capable of detecting that, enabling those changes, and making sure that the trust is still maintained and governance is still involved. So we are seeing those things. Yeah, I think we can definitely take up some of the practical examples. We have seen these pain points. We have observed many, as I mentioned, there are many use cases which we can talk. I love supply chain. I'm passionate about the supply chain and the technology. And given a choice, I can go all day on different aspects of supply chain. Today, we're just going to cover a few pain points and some of their practical applications. Let's take the TMS to begin with. Simple. There is a fundamental challenge when it comes to managing my transportation network with the rising fuel costs or with unpredictable last mile deliveries or changing weathers or customer demands, seasonalities, or maybe like, the service level understanding delays. There are lots and lots of operational dispatch, transportation planning side, or on the execution side. Systems are designed, systems have like evolved over the period of time, over the years, to be smart, like as smart as they can, with the ability of what the algorithms and if else conditions the programmers can write, right? That's how the systems are. They've optimized to the level of what mathematics and what algorithms you can put in. But now, with that challenge, with AI, we are able to introduce additional factors, like not only those mentioned factors, yeah, it could be as simple as reading the real-time traffic data, right? Maybe reading something from the weather conditions, right? There are delays. I already got some updates on the warehouse where there are dock loading or unloading is getting delayed, or the delivery windows got changed because XYZ reasons, or there are other reported information from the IoT sensors or from the fleet or from the updates have come, but they have come to the systems on a platform on a different level where the route which has already been planned does not have any immediate effect to it because they just systems are not uh, prepared to handle it. The AI solutions can be dynamic enough to handle that. Not only that, it can use some of the Gen AI algorithms, can simulate those conditions, can run through the various what if scenarios, can have those changes done ahead of time that when there are such events getting reported, the solutions can be smart, and the solutions can still make a decision which is the next level better decisions, like the next level that given those facts, that's the best route it can go, that's the best equipment it can use, that's the best driver it can assign, that's the best trip it can do, that's the best round trip it can have, or maybe like notify the customer saying that things are getting delayed. So at least the better customer experience is there rather showing late to an appointment, right? So all that is now possible to get done through the AI solutions. And any plan, like basic, any plan which is not getting implemented without the success measurement. Like if I don't have the right KPIs, which is measurable, I won't know whether we are performing well or we're performing bad. So there has to be put with the right measurable units and KPIs in place. That's also possible. Like, we've already seen UPS and FedEx taking some advantage of that in terms of cutting fuel costs, in terms of efficiently using the equipments and all of that. Warehouse, I gave a glimpse earlier. There are many use cases, including inventory management, including the warehouse operations. AI can play a part. AI is playing a part. We do have certain situations where the yard check-in, even with all this modern technology and systems, yard check-in is still by and large a manual driven process with papers and with people walking in and delays at the security gate, information which is many time is triggered based on that event, whereas the back end operations need to get reshuffled or get delayed, including cost, time. There are big impact on the yard check-in. So there are we have cases where we are able to use the video information of the trailer walking into the premise or trailer driving into the premise, and able to predict some of that ahead of time, whether it's POAS and or the appointment, or if there is no appointment, we're able to create appointments on ahead of time and able to facilitate some of that. How do I say? People started using the automated yard check-in option. In that way, the warehouses are given ahead of time updates about the trailer walking in, trailer coming in for loading and unloading, and all that updates. Okay, so just it's the backend WMS is still there. It's already knowing which doc to be assigned for, but and a prediction using the reading of that information is able to fast track that. And also it can also add additional recommendations, like it knows that this is the busy rate of a particular yard or a dock, and it can help on that. A lot of times the operations get impacted on a warehouse for things which could have been prevented, whether it's a forklift, whether it's a belt which is going out of service, HVAC units, a bunch of units which are there, we call assets, some level of assets, which could be taken as a preventive or a predictive maintenance approach, right? We know that this is the shelf life of X and Y battery or a processing unit. and that can be predicted so that the maintenance can be done without disrupting the actual operations. Having a workflow to enable that non-availability of that asset and planning ahead of time can minimize the disruption. Sometimes can just nullify the whole inexistence of those equipments into the operations, as long as that can be planned and that can be done through AI-enabled asset tracking. I absolutely we realized DHL has almost reduced more than 20% downtime on that one. Intelligent inventory, I've been telling about it. Demand planning is a big thing, where whether it's a purchase procurement level planning, whether it's my fulfillment rate level planning, whether it is my sales and promotion level planning. There are different levels of demand planning which can be done. The precisions and forecasting is the key. And of course, delivering the right ROI to measure the predictions is the important aspect. Companies like Walmart and PepsiCo, and then earlier I mentioned the others, they've all adopted some of that AI powered platforms, and they are able to see the results and they're able to measure the success on that one. Okay. Last but not the least, IoT devices is by and large has been a little bit overlooked. They have great amount of data, sensor data, temperature data, a bunch of sensors, uploads many of that information onto their respective cloud. But the fact that that data collectively is not looked upon and not being communicated back to the business for making the decision in the timely manner, in a useful manner, is resulting of lost business, as well as overhead costs. There are intelligence which can be built, or which is getting built among by reading some of that IoT data from the cloud. And the companies like Amazon and Maersk are making some good tractions on it, and then they're able to take advantage of the IoT data, and then of course implement compliance as well as enhance visibility and minimize or mitigate the risk involved on the deliveries and on the items. That's pretty much, I would say. I'll just take a quick 5 minutes to get you a quick feel of the challenges when it comes to supply chain implementing strategy. Challenges, as I mentioned, fragmented data is a key. Not having the right data or the quality of the data is definitely an impact. Sometimes not able to implement the changes, the change management. If you don't implement in the right way, then it's not adopted. So solutions can play a negative results, or may not produce the results what needed. Legacy system integrations, given that is it is the core essence of all that. Many a time, the people who are trying to implement some of those solutions are neither trained or qualified or knowledgeable enough to understand how these solutions work. So there is resource constraints has been a challenge, and people taking the business alignment. There is a missing business alignment, meaning what is priority, what is the value that solution is going to give to the business is missed out. It's driven sometimes without the right business alignment. So all these are and there are many more, but they're just 4 core fundamental challenges, I would say, when it comes to strategy and adopting AI. Similarly, in terms of the steps, of course, know your current pain points, assess them, start small, start with the right POC, start with the right pilot, think through the enterprise-wide implementation and its scalability and its value add for the item which is getting started for the focus thing, and then scale it. And then do not start scaling before putting the KPIs or measuring metrics to see the success, right? So it has to go with the current state analysis, of course, then next level of strategic planning, and then all kind of data and integrations, basic foundations and all that need to be built before things can get rolled out. There are quick and really efficient way of building simulations. There are enough AI models which can simulate the end data. I don't need to be spending my time on building the entire data set and integrating everything to predict how it's going to look like. I can use, as I mentioned, including Gen AI, a lot of things can be predicted, generated, so that the ROI can be tested with the what if scenarios before rolling out, before putting the the scaling aspect of implementing that models. All right. Definitely, yes. As I mentioned, an ecosystem integration is a key element. We need to go with the right strategy from pilot to scale. And ROI, I mentioned there are different levels of ROI need to be looked upon. Like, the key is like, what is that visibility aspect? Like, am I able to have 90%, 80%? How much is my blind side? Am I getting 100% visibility? Am I reducing the cost, right? And is that reduced cost, whether it's labor cost, utilization? Am I increasing my utilization rate? What's my delivery rate of my shipments, right? What is my carrying cost, whether it's storage cost on a warehouse or carrying cost on my trailer. All that measuring aspects need to be put in place as we scale the solutions. I'll take a quick 2 minutes from where we stand from a CSCS platform plus supply chain solution platform perspective. We have been focusing on these industries, be it cold chain, food and beverage, CPG, some of the manufacturing, as well as, of course, distribution and wholesalers. And there are a lot of 3PL healthcare customers. So those are the industries what we have been playing our role in, predominantly on the integration space, enabling the visibility with the integration, eventually resulting in optimized operations, including recommendations from AI. That's been our core strength. Purchase order to proof of delivery is the workflow what we deal with, be it TMS or WMS. We deal with that pretty much end to end on it. Again, my intent is not to run the sales deck. We have a separate sophisticated sales deck, which I can walk through separately on a later part, but just that's where we stand as an organization. And we also very thrilled to launch our Scotty, which is our AI, agentic AI, agentic AI, where it is focused on supply chain related, logistic and distribution related use cases. Like, it is the way how a planner can interact with the system, the way how the warehouse operators can check things, the way how financials can look out the data, how they all interact with the underlying supply chain systems. That's where Scotty comes into picture. We have a bunch of bots which are collected together. Scotty deals with them. Scotty manages them. Stands for supply chain optimization, traceability, and integration. It knows how to interpret the data. It knows, it's a pretty NLP driven. It does a lot of proactive, be managing your appointments and or predicting like bunch of stuff Scotty is designed to do. And again, the focus has been how all these AI models can help to interact with the supply chain data, because these companies, these systems already have the data. The challenge is, how do they use it? How do they put in use on time? How do they translate and transform on time to make better value of the data what they have? That's their treasure. That's where we are trying to help using our technology and our platform, and that's what Scotty stands for. And I think that's pretty much. I'm not sure how good or bad I'm doing with the time, 40 minutes, maybe 5 minutes early. But yeah, I think we plan to have a 45 minutes webinar and a 15 minutes Q&A session. Divya and team, we can open up the audience for Q&A. I'm open for questions, and anybody who wants to discuss with me, of course, they know how to get hold of me. That's my LinkedIn, that's my email. And personally, thank you everyone for listening to me and giving me an opportunity to share our experience and our learnings and our observations in the industry.
Thank you for the session. It was really great. Just a quick question regarding data security. While we are training the agents using open LLMs or open source LLMs, how confident or how critical the data security is? I mean, usually when we are developing these for in-house supply chain, and the data that we are using for inventory and all these things could be really critical in terms of having confidentiality issues, and we're keeping secure data on the internet. That means, using open LLMs again, we have data security issues. But even if we are going to Gemini or OpenAI's enterprise version of training those models, do you think still we are not at the risk of breach of data security and things like that?
Yeah, beautiful questions. And that's where the governance aspect of us coming into play. That's why I said, putting something without a governance can cause trouble. There are companies who have taken steps without looking through the security aspect, thinking that Google or AWS is going to take care because my data is sitting in their cloud, right? It's not about the way how where it is sitting, it's the way how the data is maintained. So definitely, yes. Simple answer to your questions, LLMs are prone to create any kind of a security lapses. The governance need to be put in place. More than that, how much of a data and what kind of data you are going to be extracting and going to be exposing to LLMs matters the most. Like you don't want your very sensitive data informations to be given in a non-encrypted manner for these decision making or for these things. So there has to be a good amount of policies need to be put in place. Again, remember, the data will still remain in the original storage. The way how you interact with them changes. The way how you take a subset of it, and then you build your model, and then you generate the data on top of it makes the difference. At the end, even of all that, what kind of compliances we are following, what kind of serialization and encryption methodology we are using, how much of that is an open open source LLM models versus your own secured custom models. All that need to be in place. The beauty of that is it's not complex, but the negative side of it is that often people tend to overlook that because that's a very critical element of running a business. I don't want my data to be exposed.
So the question still remains, like, how do we ensure with all these data security concerns using even Gemini's enterprise version, let's say, or their APIs? Because we know at points that at some point they say like your data is going to be secure. They are not going to use this for training purposes. But still, the question remains: how can we secure that further while training the models on these Geminis and Gamma, let's say?
So we can definitely take this question a little bit more detail offline, but to give you a simplified version of the answer, there is what you want to expose to that model to train is within the control of your security requirement, right? We cannot, the fact, right? They are exposed, they are vulnerable. So how much of that is of my business critical data, which I need to be exposing to these models to make those decisions, and how much is not, and in what format and what encryption level I need to do, that all the implementation strategies which we need to adopt. But yeah, great questions. That's where the evaluations is happening, and that's where Google and some of the others are trying to add value by selling some of their services and models. But yeah, great questions, and I can take much more deep dive discussion on that offline in the interest of the other rest of the audience.
Sure. Thank you so much.
So this is answer one question on Scotty. Is it deployable on the client systems, or is it a SaaS solution?
Beautiful question. Thank you for it's both. It is part of our platform to begin with, but it is designed for deploy onto a particular client system. In other words, it is not bound to our data model, or is not bound to our entity structure. It is as an AI model. It need to be fed with few other informations as part of the initial configurations and deployment, but it's an independent deployable with bunch of other order bots, ship bots, appointment bots, invoice bots, you name a bunch of other bots, which are the underlying architecture of it, which is configurable and then can be deployed to any other infrastructure. It can be cloud native, it can be non-cloud native, it doesn't matter, and they are all Dockerized.
Okay,
Great question.
perfect, thanks. Yeah, one just to build on that same question, is Scotty using any open LLMs that the clients needs to be aware of for the
Yes.
sake of security governance?
Yes. We have certain open LLMs which were customized on top of our base foundation, because of course we did not start some of these LLMs from the scratch. We are using some of those open, and then we have added our customized customization portion on top of that. As part of our documentation, we'll be sharing everything both from a legal as well as from a technical aspect.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions. Nice. Any additional questions? Anybody else, please? I'm loving them.
Hi, Mansoor. We have a few more questions in the chat. If you can look at it and please answer the questions.
Ooh, okay. Sorry, I was a little bit more focused on it. I didn't even see those questions coming in. Thank you for that. Where are they? Okay, people start. Can you read the questions from you, Divya? Where is that?
Yes. So Ludwig's question is, in your pitch, you highlighted automation and AI as key differentiators, but every competitor in this space claims the same. Can you explain, without using any buzzwords, one specific way CSCS approaches CSCS approach to automation has measurable, unique business impact that no one else in the market is currently able to replicate?
Thank you for that question. If I reiterate the question just to make sure my understanding is right, AI, when it comes to the automation, is still, I'd say, I've been saying this for a while now, and I will still say that when it comes to the automation, like forget about AI, right? When will you automate anything? Basic. And once I know that my manual process is working as expected, then instead of me repeating that manual process again and again, I'll probably write some automation script to automate it, right? That's the fundamentals, the basic definition of any automations. The rule doesn't change when it comes to AI. It's the same, right? So in order for AI to come in or give the authority to a AI model to automate something, we need to make sure that the AI model is fed enough data factors, they have made enough decisions, we have reviewed those decisions, that these decisions make sense, they are adding value to the business, they are positively impacting the business, there's no negative impact to it. All that's done, then the next level of automations to that comes in, right? So for the CSCS dotted question, one of the automations which we've been very proud, I would say, like, with keeping humbleness in place, we're very happy or excited is the right word, to implement that at the automation at the yard check-in level, okay? Prior to this, it's a manual process to some level where the trailer comes to the security gate, the driver walks out from gives the paper, security person, irrespective of the person's qualification, need to be trained enough to handle the check-in process using the backend WMS system. Otherwise, the check-in doesn't get triggered today. Okay, most of the system, that's how they are. So what we have done is we have built a model to not only scan and read that information ahead of time, we were not only scan the information, we were able to use the video information from the facility of the geofence of the yard itself, able to scan that information, and AI is able to pull me all that trailer number and the license plate and all that details, and I'm able to query behind the scene, find out what this trailer is coming in for, which PO is coming delivery for, which dock door it has been assigned to, whether he or she is coming with an appointment or not an appointment. All that activity which is going to happen at the security has been automated. Now it's just a matter of coming and then finishing up whatever the security or the signatory steps. And then the backend notification, hey, this trailer is ready to check in. Like, so the dock door number 12 was not available. It was planned for it, but this was not available right now. So what WMS is planning to allocate which dock door for that, or it's asking you to wait for the yard. The entire operation which is happening today is kind of facilitated with that simple model where we are able to read the information, make sense out of it. Right? That's just one of the many examples on the automation which we can talk about. The second level of automation is like, something on inventory replenishment level. We know that those inventory replenishment tasks within the four walls is pre-configured based on XYZ parameters. But when it changes on a given day of my order drop, on a given day of my fulfillment, on a given day of my laborers who are reporting the job that day, when that changes, where is the AI portion? Where are the configurations, right? The configurations are static. AI can make some of those dynamic configuration changes, can still execute the same way how the replenishment was happening, but can just feed more facts to that execution system behind the scene to be smart. That's where, so trying to use AI to do that execution system is probably not the smart way of doing it, because that requires 10 other learnings for the AI to get it. We already have those algorithms and systems in place. Make use of them, just supplement them using the AI.
I hope that answers your question, Lodek. Uh, Mansoor, we have one more question from Fazil. And the question is, do you believe AI will eventually replace the traditional optimization engines or decisions?
I don't think so. I will. There are many other experts in the industry. I will like to learn and hear from them. But if I have to just been asked to share my opinion, it is not, because the mathematical engines and the configurations and the permutation and combinations which are required, which is the core essence of supply chain efficiency and optimization, it's not going away. The way how these AI models are going to help is the way how we are been using them. Like it's like these models are going to help us use them much more dynamically, much more intelligently, and much more efficiently versus replacing them.
I hope that answers your question, Fazil. We have one more question from Mohammad Hanzala. And the question is, in the next 5 years, do you see PO management becoming fully touchless with AI, or will human oversight always be required?
PO management is a pretty loaded question. POs are not going away, of course. Like that's a mother of all our transactions. In terms of what is the quantity I'm going to be planning, what's my PO quantity for my season, that predictions is very well getting done with a lot of demand planning insights and a lot of AI models there. So definitely the PO quantities, which used to be the many years of procurement experience of people, buyers experience, is now getting supplemented with some additional factors that, hey, this trend is changing now, or this manufacturing facility is having higher tariff. So now we need to be ordering it from a different country, from a different tariff. So that means the cost or the duration is going to change. And how well can I dynamically read through that and still send my PO for the delivery, right? For the procurement. So some of that models are changing, but in terms of managing the PO, in terms of negotiating with the buyer, in terms of planning the delivery of it, in terms of tracking that the delivery of it, all that is still going to be event driven. That's all going to be system driven, as far as my knowledge goes.
Yes, thank you for answering that question. Gulnar, you can go ahead and ask the question now.
Hello, Mansoor and CSCS team. It was a very good webinar. Thank you so much for inviting me. Given the current reality that AI augments rather than replaces human decisions, and that adoption at scale is still limited, what do you see as the next breakthrough in AI for supply chains, particularly one that could also transform sectors like facilities management and construction? Because my background is architecture, so just curious about it.
Excellent, excellent question. If I understand your question is like, how AI is helping in terms of the facility or construction management, and then managing their respective planning of the assets and their whole workflow on building that facility, or like, equipping the facility with the rest. Is that the question?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so there are different flavors to it. Okay, first and foremost, the visualization aspect of how my end facility is going to look like, from the traditional AutoCAD systems to various construction CAD and other systems and whatnot. The visualization aspect has been fed with more factors with some AI models. I haven't used them. I've seen some YouTube videos around those models. So where the end facility or the end building, because in warehouses, when it comes to greenfield facility, we call, there are certain models where we are able to visualize, or those models are able to visualize where the conveyor belts are better located, what kind of racks they need to be built on, how tall and how the physical location of the racks based on the inventory, what is going to happen, it's going to move around, which should be your inbound and out, all that modeling aspect. There are AI tools in place which are helping to model them. And then the next level is the asset tracking. Like, when you plan for a construction for for a 6 months location on that particular site, for that 6 months, what are the equipments which need to be deployed on that place? Like, do we need XYZ equipment? That Bobcat should be there for all the 6 months, or it's enough for the 4th and 5th month, right? How can I track it? Like, how can I read my previous projects where I use X number of Bobcats and Y number of people and Z number of other construction devices, and run through the execution of them, and you realize that, hey, with all this done, it was used only for the last 3 months, but it was assigned for the whole 6 months on the project. So there's an overhead which could have been utilization perspective, that those hardwares could have been used somewhere else, or could have been rented later, or vice versa, right? So all that can be done. Those analytics can be done and can be prevented from a project execution data to project planning, and then Gen AI can play a part on writing the what if scenarios there. But this is a little bit outside of the scope of the industry which we normally deal with, other than asset tracking. But I've seen AI tools doing that part, and that could be that can definitely play a part.
That's amazing. Thank you. Me being, in the facilities of public sector, that's educational side. That's very useful information. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Welcome.
We have time for one more question. Mohammad Naif, can you please ask your question now?
It shows mute for him.
Okay. We have one more question, Mansoor. It's from Lodek again. It's, if a competitor copied your current features tomorrow, what would make a customer stay with you?
It's again loaded question, but customer stays with their partners not just because of technology. Okay, it is the relationship, and it's the value add you provide. It's the love and care you show to them, right? How well you are aligned with their needs and with their demands, and how well each one. It's a mutual relationship. It's not one-way relationship. So as long as the customer sees the value in the other parties, they will stay as long as they can, as long as the business demands for them. And so I know it's a little bit loaded question, but that's what it is. But yeah, of course, from a competition is a competition, right? If I'm offering something for a particular value, and then if the customer is seeing something equivalent of that value for a different price tag or a different value, then that's the nature of the business. But I strongly believe that the care and the love and being part of the customer journey, that makes the difference. Everything else is secondary.
Thank you so much for answering the question. We have one last question from Mohammad Naif, and the question is, since AI often requires massive data sharing across the suppliers, how do we ensure cybersecurity and protect sensitive business data?
Beautiful. Cybersecurity and AI and cloud is growing together. Okay, it's not in solo. There are we do have, like, very in fact real partners who are pro and experts in cybersecurity, where that's what they do for their living. Like, and that's what they've been doing that for their living for all these years, right? So cybersecurity, like, there are a small outage on a given warehouse could have been resulted due to a virus which was introduced during some upgrades, right? And some of them gets in place after 3 months, 2 months, they wake up. So there are different levels of attacks which happen. So obviously cybersecurity is a key thing, but whether it is an AI and data and cybersecurity, there is no direct correlation to it. It's an open issue as a cybersecurity. When you handle data, whether you're handling it for AI purpose, whether you're handling it for your business execution purpose, whether you're handling it for any other purpose, that threat remains the same. So the protective measures, what any organization, any IT has to do to protect that integrity of the data from any such threats, that's not going away, right? The model here is when the AI needs the model, or AI needs the data to feed the model, to make the model intelligent. To that level, when that extraction of the data or from that usage of the data is happening, that still need to be handled with a similar care, no matter what I just mentioned about the threat of cybersecurity. But yeah, the simple answer, yes, the threat is there, that need to be handled with all the protective measures in cybersecurity. But there's no difference between you handling your business data versus you're handling the data for the sake of AI modeling.
Yeah, one more question from Arif. Yeah.
Yeah, please carry on.
Yeah. Since we're dealing with very conversational AI platform, are we moving ahead with from the next generation firewalls to LLM firewalls, which is recently they've been talking about LLM firewalls, going to place in terms of in the conversational AI platform. Whatever we do right now is completely, we are in the age of the conversational AI and all, yeah? So are we having any insights of moving out from next gen to LLM firewalls?
Great question. Again, I will give you a partial answer. I don't have a complete answer for it. The partial answer is that these models are technically equipped to run within the respective VPN and firewalls. Okay, so they don't need necessarily to be run somewhere else and interacted. These models are self-deployable. They are independent to operate. So if you have a firewall or if you have a network restrictions and then you want to implement LLM, those LLM models can still be within your network as long as the users can access to those. But if you are exposing that access to the users to handle those models outside the network, then of course you have the guardrail to protect that interaction. Then you're opening up the door for those LLM models to interact through your network of the data without necessary VPNs and without necessary network protection. But technically, those models can run within your network so that your network protections and VPNs and firewalls can still in place and can still get the value what you need from the LLMs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but whenever we want to have some kind of a data, we always use a RAG to enforce a lot of data from outside the from the LLM as well. Yeah, in the end of the day, yeah, what you said is 90% is been on locally embedded into the system itself. Thank you for your question. Answer for that, Mansoor.
That's good. You're right. Yeah, that's as I said, that's the partial side of it. Like the other side, we still have to dig a little bit further on the network engineering. So
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? I think we are past time, but I'm open for taking a few more minutes if there are more questions.
I think we're done with all the questions, Mansoor. Thank you everyone for joining today.
Yep. For everyone, stay tuned. We wanted to start this as we're going to have more webinars coming in. Okay, different topics. I'm more than happy to share the experience here, and we will be having more webinars. So please stay tuned. And then any questions, any further discussions you wanted to have, our credentials are there. Reach out to any one of us from the company, from me to me directly. And again, personally, thank you everyone's time for participating on this webinar. It was lovely having you all.